I know what you're thinking. Jesus fucking Christ. Another Aloysius Joseph. Aloysius Joseph. Eulogy. All I got to say about that. If you don't care about my dad dying, see, this is how we're inextricably linked. And those that don't link, they're worthy of questioning, as I've always been. If you don't care about my dad dying, then you don't care about your dad dying. Going to say care in what way? Love or hate. You may be happy that he's dead, but if you can't care, can't understand that I care about my dad and I loved him, for a wise man by the end of time, he pulled shit out of that bag of tricks that I didn't even know he had coming. Would have never guessed all the years that I was doing silent psychology on him and thinking if only he could go see somebody, but he never would. Maybe they could help him with his hostility, with his love, with his things that he just didn't understand. But I knew he would never do something like that. So through the years, I secretly coached him with ideas, sitting on the porch, looking at the darkness between the stars. And I will not take credit for this. It's just an odd coincidence. At the end, he seemed like he had so much figured out and so much was better. He could take the suffering he had to. It's all he's ever known. Born on the farm. But he figured something out about the idea, the joke about how it was all going to be. We're going to have to fight over it. He split it 4 ways. And there's nothing really to it. But he says you're going to have to fight over it. And I really do believe maybe he understood how much junk he had in there that's not worth a dime. We're not fighting over who's going to get it. We're fighting over how we're going to get rid of it. And I thought, here you go, man. We're going to fight over it. But somehow, I don't think by the end of it all, he really wanted to see us fight at all. He seemed to want us all to get along, and he would never talk bad. And if you started to talk about something, he'd say, I don't know anything about that. And just, he would quell it. Yet at the end, he's still needling it because he had his mind together enough all that fucking time the whole fucking time. How many people do you get to know that have their mind together the whole time until they finally say, Archie, I feel like my brain's not right. You realize he's in transition. This is time, but you don't believe he's going that quick. And then he does. Some of us have had more time than we had coming to us. But the thing is, he had his brain together that whole time. Even though he was being wizened, which means old and withery, but filled with wisdom, he was still fucking needling people. What's that tell us about wisdom? Wisdom tells you, oh, you just keep fucking needling people. And so he says, yeah, you're all gonna fight over it. He could have changed it at any moment, but the thing is, truly, if that were the case, then he'd be having a laugh riot right now. Him and all the other people in this cell in hell, they'd be laughing, watching this whole thing. He's got no need to be in hell, but, well, you know, you pull something like that, ticket he got away with here and there, you know, they just weigh the odds, what's somewhere, and they put you wherever you're going. You don't really have any belief that you have a decision about where you go, do you? Even Allah has a book. Doesn't matter how good you are. It's what they told me when I was over there. Doesn't matter how good you are. If your name's not on in that book, you don't go. You go elsewhere. So it's a crapshoot. Like anybody who knows how to play craps. Blackjack. Ace of spades. Ace of spades, all right. So they say, okay. Let's talk about my dad. Let's talk about religion. Let's talk about fear. Let's talk about the prodigal son. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me and my mom and my dad and how they all got inextricably linked. All of us, we've been stuck in a bubble so long with two people bursting out of it. It's like there's air coming in, we can finally breathe, and we're all going, ah! Let's talk about you and me. And I remember, the best part of me remembering is that this story was told to me by my dad many, many years after me remembering, just altered slightly. I remember when we all screwed up, or somebody screwed up, I don't know, we all stood in a line, and my mom said, wait till your dad gets home, and we all stood in line, and my dad would come in, and he did that thing with a belt. I can't say I'd ever been hit with a belt, but you'll see why in a moment. He would go from the oldest to the youngest when we were screwing up. And you watch, my oldest brother, the one that I love, the one that loves me, he'd take it. And then then my sister, she'd get hers. And then there's my second brother. He'd be standing there and he's like, my dad's right there. Gone. There goes my second brother running across the yard. We had a big yard, running all over the place. And my dad chasing him. This is one memory I have, but I know it's not the first of them because it doesn't seem unusual. And he's chasing him, my dad. And then they're ahead of him after they've run each other out. My second brother hits the ground and he's laying in the grass going, and my dad, right there in the same instant, hits the ground about 5 yards behind him, 15 feet behind him, 5 yards. It's, you think you might get a touchdown 5 yards away from the goal line, but they're 5 yards from where he's been chasing him. He collapses at the same time. And he's like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I never got mine. And I realize maybe that's why my second brother decided to stop liking me, because he always had to do the work and I never got mine. Well, what that tells me, I wrote it down somewhere. Being scared means you don't need to be beaten. There's a thing. That's with the beating, it was, if it were a valid thing rather than just a fucking maniac wanting to beat the fuck out of everything they can fucking come across. With a beating, a child learns fear. It's not about the pain so much. The pain, it adds to it. It supports it. It coalesces. But the fear itself is what it is. And if you take away the beating, so they say, this is just looking at it from this point of view. You see how I'm covering my ass? I don't mean to say this. I just realized how bad it sounded, but we're looking at it. If you take away the possible beating and all you have is screaming, there's no fear to be had by the child. But if you see two people beating in front of you and another one running till he collapses, and if that one hadn't run, it would have been your turn next, you kind of get the idea. Maybe you shouldn't be doing this shit.